It's 2023. My eldest son, Deshaun Brayboy, he turns 34 years old today. I just want to take this time to say a few words about my son. A friend of mine's had noticed that previously when I wrote the first post about his birthday, he had he said he noticed how I hadn't mentioned that our children are also our guardian angels, and he said you should talk about that. And I can only speak about it based upon the relationship that I have with my son, Deshaun. Um, See, Deshaun is a big part of the reason why I'm still here. I've been through a lot in life, and in a lot of instances, I'm just going to totally open up. Of when I just wanted to leave this planet, you know, there was a lot of times to where I would think of him and his brother, but I'm talking about him in particular. The creator would show me these images of Deshaun in my head, and I would hear his voice, and I don't know, I would all of a sudden just cheer right up, and my mind would be set back in the manner that it should be. And it helped me to understand that even though our children are with us physically, what I come to know, they're even though they still reside in their flesh, they're still our spiritual guiders. So a portion of their spirit guides us as well. When when Deshaun was like 2 years old, when me and his mother was still together, for I believe it was like 2 months, I had walking pneumonia and didn't even realize I had it. And I was going back and forth to work. I was losing a lot of weight because I didn't have an appetite. I became really pale, and he sensed that it was something abnormal about his father because I was sleeping a whole lot. And what I noticed about him is that when I would sit in the living room and I'd be looking at a movie, he would always sit next to me. And I would look down, he would be looking up at me, kind of smiling and everything. And I would notice that when I would go back in the bedroom and lay down, he would always come back there and lay down with me. Now, it was one evening on my off days, I noticed that his mother was on the phone with her mother, and she was slightly weeping because she couldn't understand, like, she noticed that I was losing a whole lot of weight and I just didn't look good. And I overheard his mother saying, "Mama, I don't know what's wrong with David. I think he's sick and he won't go to the hospital. And I don't understand what's wrong with him." And so, I believe it was a day later, her mother had came over here came over to our place, and she yelled from the living room, "David, come out of that bedroom, let me look at you." But before she got there, when I was asleep, I would look over, Deshaun was there. He stayed around me the whole time. And it's like, even though he was not able to ask me what I needed or anything like that, because he was just a 2-year-old. But he stayed next to his dad because he was obviously his dad's strength, because I was feeling really terrible, but at the same time, he was there. So when her mother came over with her boyfriend, I came out, and her mother looked at me and she said, "Nope, something's wrong with you, and you need to go to the hospital and find out what's wrong." And so I went to the hospital, and I came back, and the doctor told me that I had walking pneumonia. And so even though Deshaun was around me all of that time, Deshaun never got sick. But of course, I think it was like the course of like a week, I had gotten better. I bring this up because regardless of everything that I've been through in my life concerning their mother, keeping them from me for 3 years, and for absolutely no reason. I know I make a lot of videos and I say that things transpire against me in my life for absolutely no reason. It's a fact, because things happen. But during that 3-year period that I didn't see him and his brother, I was driving a bus, and through a whole lot of pain and anguish of people lying to me, of not telling me where they was living, and everything like that. At the age of, I started sleeping around with a whole bunch of different women, figuring that that was going to make me feel better. But I noticed that when it comes to your children, you have to have that relationship with them. And so at the age of 14, Deshaun stood up to his mother and said, "I want to see my dad." And for some strange reason, his mother was surprised of him wanting to see his dad. And so she said, "You really want to see him?" And I'm like, why would you think that he wouldn't want to see his father? And so all of a sudden I got the phone call from him, and we talked, and their mother got on the phone, and we talked, and she gave me the address and everything. I went by their place after 3 years, and it was almost like I had to get to know my sons again, and it's been a long process of getting to know my sons, because during that time, there was they were little, and they were during those periods of where they were very impressionable. Deshaun was 11, and his brother was 8 or 9. And so I was pushed out of their lives because I was getting ready to get married to this young lady that I met in the ministry who went to Stanford University. And one night, she was on her way back to Stanford University, and I called their mother, and I told them, I said, "I'm going to be coming by there to pick them up because I have to take Kim to the airport." That was the young lady's name, because she's getting ready to go back to Stanford University, and she wants to see them. So I was going to go by there and pick them up, and we were all going to join Kim at the airport while she go back to Stanford University. Their mother said, "Yeah, okay." So she hung up the phone. 3 minutes later, she calls back, and she said, "No, you can't come get them Because if you're not going to spend any real time with them, then you're not going to get them. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, I try to spend time with them as much as you allow me to, you know, but that's what started this all of a sudden 3 years of me not seeing them, you know, so it's a whole lot. But what brought that to an end was my son speaking up for me and saying that he wants to see his dad. And I've noticed ever since then, no matter what is said about me, no matter of the slander and the lies, my son Deshaun has always stayed in my corner. You know, now we almost lost him in 2007 because he got hit by a car on a street called Spring Mountain. And so when I went to the hospital and I saw him and he was laying there, he was just, his left eye was closed. He was covered in blood and he was just trembling in pain. And I just broke down, you know. And I asked them, I said, is he okay? And they said, yes, he's fine. But that wasn't enough for me. But what I noticed is my son looking up at me and he said, hey, Dad, I'm okay, Dad. I'm okay. So that gave me an instant boost. And so I was still shooken up by it. And so I immediately thought of his mother. And I told her, I told the nurses that she needs to see this. I can't take him out there like this and just drop him on her like this. So the nurses said, are you leaving him? And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving him. But his mother, she needs to come back here and see this. I can't take him out there like this. So I went out there and the first thing his mother said, did you leave him back there? And I'm like, no, you need to go back there and see this. And so I was accused of leaving my son. I was accused of abandoning my son simply because I was courteous enough to think of how this was going to affect his mother, because it's not like he gets hit by a car every day. So as she went back there, his younger brother, Dylan, was in the waiting room, and I asked him, I said, are you okay? And he said, yeah, I'm okay. And so I went off to the side and I started talking to the Creator. And I told the Creator, look, I've already been through hell with my dad and pretty much the whole family. And I'm telling you right now, if you take my son from me, I'm gonna cause so much pain on this earth. If you take my son from me, it's gonna be me and you. And I heard the Creator's voice through a feeling, not audible, you know, audible, like a whole lot of these so-called prophets tell you. But the Creator's language comes through a feeling, and it transmits to your mind a knowledge, and you perceive it. The Creator had asked me, if I take your son from you tonight, will you be able to accept it? And I answered, yes, I'll be able to accept it, because we're not left with a choice of anything in life. We're not left with a choice of gaining or losing. Damn sure don't have a choice. Because if it's one thing of life that is certain, it is death. And so he ended up coming home that same night. It was a terrible experience, but what I learned from that from that night was that your children are your greatest love and your greatest fears. I tell a lot of people today, you really don't know what love is until you have children. Your greatest love is always going to be your children, and your greatest fear is always going to be losing them. And so my son has always been in my life. He's been like my guardian angel. When I talk to him, I remember one night I was having a very bad night on my job. And I called Deshaun, and just hearing his voice, even when he said hello, everything just left. Everything left. And after I got through talking with him, I didn't even tell him what type of night I was having, because as soon as I heard his voice, everything was okay with me. And I don't know if a lot of you brothers feel that way about your sons, but my son has always been one of the primary power sources of my life. And I really don't know anyone more kinder and more humble than my son, Deshaun. He's been such an inspiration for me. And I will say that my son is me had I not gone through hell. And that's one of the reasons why I've always been very protective over what affects them, even from by way of my own family members. Because if you hurt me and you were of my family or are of my family, you will never get a chance to hurt mine. You will never get a chance to hurt mine. And so, I mean, there's so much that I can say about having sons, but having a son like Deshaun definitely keeps me going. He definitely keeps me going, because when I look at him, I see myself had I not gone through hell. But just his presence alone keeps me going, along with the Creator allowing me to be here. And so I will continue to encourage brothers to have very good relationships with their sons. I mean, there's a lot more that I can say, but I encourage brothers to continue to have very, very good communication with their sons. Be honest with your children. Always tell your children that you love them. Never allow them to go to sleep thinking that you don't like them as a human being. If you have disputes with them during the day, try your hardest to never allow them to go to sleep without resolving those issues. Because not only does it upset you, but it very much upsets them, because they're your children and they need to know that they're loved. Then they need to know that they're liked by you. That's one of the reasons why I made those videos. Create No Monsters, when I used the footage of the movie Fences with Denzel, of that very verbal and emotionally abusive scene out of the movie Fences. We as men should always express love and compassion towards our sons. And that's not a feminine attribute. That's a very honest and fatherly attribute. And if some of you brothers are out there with this over masculine attitude, feeling as though you don't want to appear soft and you don't want to raise your sons up being soft by not showing them any affection, that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can ever do to your son. To me, that is abuse. Worried about how the world is going to see you in reference to your relationship with your son. Your sons need to know that they're liked, and your sons need to know that they're loved, regardless of what they may hear about you, as long as your relationship with your sons are good and on point and in the way that it should be. Only then can you really, in fact, say that you're their fathers. So on this day, my son Deshaun turns 34 years old. And I'm proud to say that this man is my son. He's my guardian angel. He's my inspiration in a whole lot of different areas in my life. You know, and I thank him. And I thank the Creator for gifting me with him. And hopefully this will inspire other brothers to make videos like these, honoring and loving their sons on their birthdays. So I salute you, Deshaun, and I want to say that I love you, and I salute you on your birthday of becoming 34 years old. I love you, and you have a good time tonight. All right? Talk to you later. This is in reference to my previous video that I made about my son and how we as Black men should start openly showing love to our sons. My friend Queenie today, she had called me and she complimented me on the video. I woke up this morning and I found a lot of messages in my DMs of Black women calling themselves attacking me because of the video, which is not to my surprise. considering the mentality that a whole lot of Black women are in today. What most of them was referring to was when I mentioned that my son had got hit by a car in 2007. And the accusations of my abandoning my son, simply because I considered myself to be courteous to his mother because I did not want to take my son out there in that physical condition and just present him like that, because she was out in the public and I didn't want to just drop that on her, because the whole thing is, as I said before, this is not something that happens every day. And you have to be concerned of how things are going to affect a person. Let's not forget, this is his mother. She gave birth to him. My being a father and still being concerned of this woman, and I'm always going to be concerned of her, regardless of her cruelty towards me, even to this day. What a lot of you Black women are going to have to understand, and I made a video almost like 3 years ago telling Black men, stop calling Black women your baby mama. And I hear a whole lot of you Black women, y'all love to say baby daddy, baby daddy. You sound so ignorant. You will never hear me call their mother my baby mama. No, she is the mother of my children. That's what she is. And I'm going to continue to treat her as such. And what a lot of you are going to have to understand about your quote unquote baby daddy, regardless if you get along with him or regardless if you are around him currently, when both of you came together genetically and you created those children, when your genetics came together, you became blood relatives. Therefore, you became family. And this is not an ancestral thing, because I know how you sick people think today. But regardless, you and her and you are family members, and you have to be concerned. And what joined you two together as blood relatives are those children. And so regardless if you are with her or her is with him or whatever the case may be, and regardless of if his mother and I are together or not, that woman is my family. She's my family. And this is what a whole lot of you ignorant Negroes need to understand. So when I considered how his physical condition was going to affect her emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, I wanted to avoid hurting her in reference to bringing him out there in that physical condition and shocking her like that. I still have love for this woman. She is a family member. And so I wanted to protect her from that shock. And this is one of the reasons why I told the nurses, no, I'm not leaving him. I'm not abandoning him. But his mother needs to see him in this condition beforehand. I can't take him out there and just drop him off on her in this physical condition because I'm concerned about how this is going to affect her. Now, the reason why I have the strength to do that, and you probably either forgotten or you just totally overlooked it, is when I said, my son looked up at me and he said, "Hey, Dad, I'm okay. I'm all right, Dad. I'm okay." That gave me strength and it gave me resolve on the inside to where, in reference to me asking the nurses, is he okay? If my son said, "I'm okay, Dad, everything's okay," when I heard that from him, that lowered my grief because I don't ever want to lose my son, ever. And so after he told me that everything is okay, I immediately thought of his mother because she didn't know if he was okay or not. But due to the fact that I knew from him personally that he was okay, I immediately thought of my family, which is his mother. So when I walked out there, and when she said, just like the rest of the women, "You left him back there by himself?" I said, "No, you need to see this. It's bad. It looks bad. But you need to go back there and you need to see this." Because I wanted her to be able to see this condition and for him to also tell her, along with the nurses, that, "Mama, I am okay." That's what that's about. That's what that's about. Being aware of how things affect other people, cause and effect. And I know many of you are not aware of that because many of you don't really give a damn how what you say and what you do affects others. Not strictly against Black men, but I see you as Black women doing that to one another. Now, I'm not going to make this a racial thing. However, I'm going to be honest. Now, after that night, her sister came over and they were in the living room talking. And she had accused me of being weak because I cried for my son. She accused me of being weak because I left from back there. I thought of her enough to let her know, you need to go back there. So I'm supposed to be weak. However, what a whole lot of you women don't understand, we men are very intellectuals. We're intellectuals. And we're also human beings. And so we're emotional as well. However, when we are made assured emotionally, then the intellect kicks in. And that's what happened. When my son said, "Dad, I'm okay," that gave me the power to go back into my intellectual. And when I went into my intellectual, I thought of how this could affect his mother. My family. That woman is my family. Now, however your so-called baby daddy think of you, that's between you and him. But I would suggest, regardless of your baby father, as you say, or how many baby fathers you have, I'm offering you a suggestion. Maybe you all need to sit down, or maybe you and him need to sit down and have a very important conversation about how all of you are family and you're going to always be family because those kids brought you together. I'm going to share something else with you. Her late boyfriend, Kenyon Collins, who not too long passed away, just less than 2 weeks ago, he had passed away. This was the brother who offered to stay with us. After they moved out, or maybe I'm wrong, but when I was told that she was pregnant by Mr. Collins, I was excited because I grew to be very good friends with Kenyon. As a matter of fact, me and Kenyon looked like we could be relatives. He came up in Chicago Heights, in Chicago, and I had family over there in Chicago Heights. And so my brother Carl, I told him, I said, I'm excited for them because that's gonna bring us all together. Now, a lot of people may say, oh, dude, you crazy. No, I just have a clear understanding of things. You know, I have a clear understanding of things. And this is based upon a video that I made not too long ago in reference to my counseling a brother that I knew and still know in Atlanta under the name Derek. And it's titled, Listen to Your Heart. And biologically, this just, it makes total sense. Now, I was excited because they were getting ready to bring another life into the world. And this life would have connected Mr. Collins to me because we both bear children by the same woman. And so that would have bonded all of us together biologically. Now, regardless of people say, this dude is tripping, no, you tripping. Now, you wanna keep up the chaos between you and your baby mama and her boyfriend or whatever, you wanna keep up that chaos? Hey, power to you. But clarity brings about a wisdom. Now, when they had she had miscarriage and she lost the baby, they were upset and I was upset. All at the same time, but I had to accept it the same way that they had to accept it. And obviously, we had moved on. But going back to the video, it had amazed me of how that was, how could you not understand if you were really listening? But see, the problem with a whole lot of you Black women today, and the problem with a lot of people that I'm starting to realize today, is that you don't know how to listen attentively. You hear, but you don't listen. You have to become better listeners and keep your emotions outside of your gift of listening. You have to learn how to listen. And when you learn how to listen, you will completely understand where a person is coming from. Because I'm a man who chooses his words wisely. I do that because I like being understood. Now, a lot of you know, especially in this day and time, you have to be very, very certain that you are completely understood, because you're dealing with a lot of wicked people in this world and a lot of miserable people who have a determination to twist what you say so that they can take that twisted understanding and tell other people so that they can get people behind them to attack you, thinking that them and these people are going to attack you and push you into the abyss. There's nothing that you can do or say that's going to affect me, because I know what I said and I knew what I meant when I said it. Now, another thing was mentioned. One of the women and one of the brothers said, how is it that we can raise our black sons to be strong and intellectually sound, and we never show them any masculine traits? Number one, as a father, you are supposed to be the example of masculinity. The best persuasion of masculinity is your example. I not too long ago had said in one of my videos, we do not want to create monsters. We want to create intelligent young men. Believe me, you can be highly intelligent and still have what it takes to protect yourself. However, when you're walking around and you're overly masculine, like I always say, and you walking around and you all pumped up, I'm a man, you're imbalanced, brother. I mean, people can look at you and tell you're a man. But do you always have to be all tensed up and hyped up and overly expressive to the degree that you become aggressive and no longer assertive? My grandfather was a man of humility. He was highly intelligent, but he was not aggressive. Whenever he ventured into a problem and he had to deal with the problem outside of his common demeanor, he was never aggressive, but he was very assertive. See, aggressive is emotional. Being assertive is intellectual. There's nothing wrong with you being assertive, but aggression works against you. Aggression has its place, but not in your everyday, all day form of expression. You always have to come around, well, I'm a black man, I'm this and I'm that and I'm this. See, that's the type of shit that'll get you locked up eventually. You can be assertive, but you don't necessarily have to be aggressive all the time. That's what I taught my sons. That's why I have a 30-year-old and a 34-year-old, and neither one of them have ever been arrested, because they know how to carry themselves. This is the reason why I am very much proud of them both. This is the reason why I can make videos on how much I love and appreciate my sons. Now, if you as a black man feel as though it's embarrassing to tell to the world how much you love and appreciate your sons, then you have a problem. If you as a black woman looks at other black men as myself, so-called black men as myself, and say that it is weak that he would get up there and express how much he loves his son on his birthday, then you have a problem. And you are one of the examples of why a whole lot of these brothers, these younger brothers right now, are getting their passports, and I encourage it. I encourage it, because who the hell needs women like y'all with that type of mentality? I'm not going to tell you what you should be doing, but naturally, considering the so-called reputation of us black men not being fathers, you should celebrate any black man who is expressing his love of his son or his daughter. You should celebrate that. That's what you should do. But you don't. And I will continue to encourage black men. Any chance you get, celebrate your sons. Celebrate your daughters. And don't hold back. There's nothing wrong with you telling the world how much you love your children. To me, that's strength. That's being a man. That's being an honest man. What the world say and think, to hell with what they say and think. Who cares? You keep your head up and you let the world know how much you love and appreciate your seeds, whether they're male or female. You go right ahead and you keep doing what you're doing. Because what this world think and what they say, it don't mean anything, because look at the condition that the world is going in. And the primary people who are criticized, they know they ain't going nowhere. They got one foot in the abyss and they love it. They've made a lot of bad decisions in their lives. And instead of resolving those issues with whoever, they found a comfort zone and they say they're strong and independent. Well, you go ahead and you be strong and independent all the way to your grave, because who cares? When I asked my son, I said, Deshaun, tell me the truth and don't hold back, because I'm your dad. I really want to know. When I walked out of there, did you feel as though I abandoned you? He quickly said, no, Dad, you did not abandon me. Everything was okay. I prepared his mother. And when she went back there and when she brought him out, I could tell that she was crying. That's her son. And she was feeling a small guilt because he had went to Jack in the Box, which was across the street. And he got her and Kenyon something to eat from Jack in the Box. And so she told him to go back over there and get her soda that was supposed to have came with the meal. So he ended up jaywalking and he got hit by a car. So when we went to the hospital, I'm standing next to her and she said, I should have never told him to go back and get those sodas, and I immediately cut her off. No, don't do that to yourself. Because you have to deal with the facts, regardless of what transpired. He should have went where he was supposed to have went and crossed the street legally. I was not going to stand there and allow her to feel that simply because she sent him back, that was the cause of him getting hit by a car. No, you have to deal with the facts. See, a man is intellectual. Now, if she was dealing with an emotional dude, then he would have told her, yeah, it's your fault that he got hit by a car. How come you just couldn't just take it, blah, 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 blah. No, I wasn't going to stand there and allow my family to take the blame. That woman is my family. And the fact was, my son crossed the street illegally and he got hit. Regardless of what she said, and she accused me of being weak and abandoning him, the fact remains that he jaywalked, and that is one of the reasons why he got hit. Let's just deal with the facts. We're gonna deal with the facts. We're not gonna blame anybody. You have to deal with the facts. And I'm telling any black man out there, there's nothing wrong with you shedding tears for your children. There's nothing wrong with that. If you should shed any tears, then let it be for your seeds. Because if your children are not okay, you're never going to be okay. As I said before, my sons are my life. And when he was in there fighting for his life, I told God, if you take my son from me, it's going to be me and you. And I meant that. And that question that the Creator threw at me, if I take your son from you, would you be able to accept it? And as I said before, we don't have a choice but to accept. Because we were born into this life without our consent, and death comes without our consent. As I said before, there's one thing that is certain. It is death. And once you understand that, then it's easy for you to accept anything, because we're not in control of anything. Now, does that mean that we're victims in this life in terms of being vulnerable to what could transpire in this life, in this life? Many of us feel like that. I think that's an everyday feeling for all of us. This is one of the reasons why. That's where the fear comes from, because we're not in control of anything. And that makes all of us feel vulnerable. And this is the reason why you should love one another 100% while they're here. We have a bad habit in the human family to where once this person passes away, all of a sudden there's this big love and compassion that comes for that person, but they're no longer here to experience that. Now, I want to say this before I close this out, and I would, this is a form of advice. When Deshaun had got to the point to where he was able to move around, I woke him up one day, or I went to his room. I said, Deshaun, put your clothes on. Me and you need to go for a walk. So we was out walking, and I took him to where the accident happened. And we were standing there looking at where the accident happened. And I asked him, do you remember what happened? And he said, Yeah, I remember. I asked him, how are you feeling right now? He said, I'm okay. I said, so you're able to accept what happened and you're able to move on, right? I said, and don't answer yes because I'm asking you, are you able to move forward with your life? Has this affected you in any way to where you may need some counseling or anything like that? He said, no, Dad, I'm okay. And this is one of the reasons why I love that man so much. Because he can go through something as traumatic as that, and he still is able to smile. He's still able to be productive because this happened in 2007 when he graduated from high school. This happened within his senior year of high school. And after him having to take 6 weeks out of his senior year to heal, Deshaun Brayboy still graduated out of high school on time. My son is the bomb. He's a great example for me. And he's walking around right now. Yeah, he's got little scars on his arms and everything, but he's still able to love. He's still able to smile. He doesn't feel as though his mother put him in danger, and he doesn't feel as though his father abandoned him. So this is just to let you know that despite all of your messages, obviously you misunderstood what was said. And so I'm just here to let you know that you misunderstood what I said, and you need to go back and you need to watch the video again. And instead of just hearing it, start listening to what was said. And I still encourage Black men to publicly express your love for your children, whether they're male or female. You continue to be fathers, and you continue to celebrate your children, and you continue to honor their mothers. And if you're not doing it right now, get it together and stop calling her your baby mama. That's the mother of your children. And you Black women need to get out of this ignorant mentality. My baby daddy, my baby daddy. Grow the fuck up and get it together. Act like you got some damn sense. I tried not to go there, but whatever. With all of this being said, celebrate your children, Black man. Celebrate your children. And if you are estranged from your children, put forth an honest effort to resolve your differences. And simply because they're your children, it doesn't mean that you can't apologize if you wrong them. So with that being said, I have to go. And everybody stay human. Everyone have a good night. Peace.